please remember to leave a like, a comment, share the video about, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Thank you. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Captain's Log, Subdates 230117.9. To get to the Kingdom of Spoons, we're going to have to reinforce our hull by 27% as they exist near the very bottom of the ocean. This does go quite far as to explain why Ensign Spoon is quite brittle and regularly in the medbay. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'd like to do a response video to a video I saw on Twitter concerning Jeffrey Marsh. Jeffrey Marsh is one of these rather unusual oddities, individuals that has been garnering criticism and popularity for a few years now, but has, I would argue, until TikTok kind of flown a bit under the radar. I genuinely had no idea who Jeffrey Marsh was until, let's say, the tail end of 2022. Yet, according to the video we're going to be responding to, Jeffrey Marsh has actually been active for much longer, and the video we're going to look at concerns sanitary products and Jeffrey Marsh's involvement in that, along with a few points that I find a slight contradiction in, because there are a number of things Jeffrey Marsh has said, done, that don't quite make all the sense. Jeffrey Marsh likes to champion themselves as a bit of a role model in some respects, but also a champion to help defeat certain institutions. These institutions get mentioned in the very video we're going to look at, and if you want to roll your eyes when you hear it, by all means do so. We on this channel are very inclusive in our eye-rolling disdain.
I did a brand deal for tampons.
That is a very strange way to start a video, but I have no doubt with the context you're going to provide, it will totally make 100% sense. And if it doesn't, you will make it make sense, because somebody has to.
This was 2020, and this is me dancing around. That's a major national brand paid me to make this ad for them on social media.
Have you ever been offered the chance to perhaps run a major national brand or international brand's Twitter account so they don't run the risk of saying they've been inside other people's girlfriends? Also, do you think perhaps the brands that did it because of your pull on social media, TikTok especially being a few years ago nowhere near as popular as it is now, so in a sense tokenizing you to get a message out there, but then it is a brand deal, so I guess maybe not.
And I wanted to say two things about it. I'm sure you've seen the hate that Dylan's gotten.
Yes, Dylan Mulvaney's videos concerning tampons and experimentation of it to describe the purpose and how they're used in a very comedic style. I'll agree there is some hilarity there, I'm certain. I think the nature of how you two describe yourselves is where many take great issue, and there will be some contradictions in what you say soon, so my point will be a bit more concrete. In the case of Dylan has gone through more transitions with facial reshaping, the bone shaving thing, yeah. Dylan's doing the path to womanhood thing, girlhood, whichever one it is, I can't remember at this point. But the tampon thing, I got the point of trying to reduce anyone's discomfort towards their existence, which is often pigeonholed as that of a stigma. In some places, I'm sure, but in, a lot of places it's not. So is it a stigma? No, it's just some people haven't caught up yet.
Please find this video of Dylan's and watch it. Dylan is an angel, important, intelligent, someone I care about very much.
When it comes to finding videos of other creators on TikTok, it can be quite a trek when you go to their channel page, because some produce a vast amount of content, so finding it will not be as easy as indicated. But I have done a video responding to Dylan Mulvaney on this channel. It wasn't well received, which is fine. There is going to be criticism regardless of what I say, and in this I'm a little bit about Dylan, and equally the same about Jeffrey Marsh. But I will link the video I did on both Jeffrey Marsh and Dylan Mulvaney, two separate videos, down below.
And I made the video for two reasons. So that women would feel less stigmatized, so that people who menstruate would feel less stigmatized, because to cis men, let's face it.
And that is a noble reason to do something, to help promote something by showing, look, I'm a dude, apparently a cis het male. That's one area we're going to come back to in a moment. is happy to stand here and promote a product for you because there is nothing you should feel uncomfortable about with something so intimate that you might yourself, because people are different, not want to talk about anyway, regardless of who's promoting it. But his point of trying to make everyone feel comfortable is a valid one. I think we can agree on that.
Menstruation is seen as gross, disgusting, a joke, and as someone who does not menstruate, I'm non-binary, I don't menstruate.
And there's the issue I see as a contradiction. You first identify as a cisgendered heterosexual male, and then you say, I'm non-binary. Now this, to me, is a bit of a contradiction. Cisgendered, by definition, cisgender is somebody whose gender identity corresponds directly with the sex registered for them at birth. Non-binary is not that. Am I the only person that sees it this way? Am I perhaps the only person that realizes that is a contradiction? Or is this the part where someone ascertains a whole new definition so the goalposts can be shifted so the definition works for them a bit more loosely? Oh, and on Twitter I see people refer to periods as Shark Week. I prefer to think of it as that icky time that I don't need to know about, ever.
I wanted to help end that stigma if I could. And I also, you notice I don't do a lot of brand deals. I did this one because I wanted trans people to feel better and not have, trans men who menstruate and non-binary people who menstruate to not feel double stigmatized around menstruation and being trans.
That seems on the face of it like a noble cause, doesn't it? One does have to make sure everyone is comfortable in who they are in their bodies and understanding that the biological aspect will still control you regardless of where you end up, unless you find some way to change it completely. I do, though, want to eventually at some point, I'd love to pick your brain on people who identify as trans, who are going through a process, say, male to female, and take frozen tomato popsicles and then use them in a hole, and they use that to simulate a menstruation cycle. I covered that in a This Week at Twitter, and I, on the face of it, thought it must have been a load of bollocks. Turns out, no, it's been going on for a very long time, actually. I don't think that's a good idea. Putting things in orifices, just save it for the bedroom, okay?
And then the hate came for me. And I want to say something to the ladies of Twitter especially.
The hate is, to me, a bit of a thought-terminating cliche, a semantic stop sign, a thought stopper, bumper sticker logic, or cliche thinking. A way of pigeonholing many different types of people who may well have had criticism at you and the brand because it didn't really make much sense to do the ad. On the face of it, it really doesn't. While the idea of trying to make more people feel welcome and inclusive, in reality you're going to have these arguments with those who are sometimes TERFs, as they're normally called, who will say, you are not a woman, therefore you should not be doing this. You identify as non-binary, and you also identify as cis-het, which means you are not that anyway. This product is for women, so it should surely be a woman doing it. Or perhaps include someone who has transitioned female to male, who would want to do this. If you cannot menstruate, it might seem as a bit of an inappropriate thing for you to do it to try and welcome this inclusivity. That, I think, is where a lot of the criticisms come from, or the hate.
We should be working together to undermine the patriarchy.
Only to undermine the patriarchy? I thought we'd gotten to the stage now where it must be defeated. Or have we realised, much like the Matrix, you simply can't defeat the machine, you must learn to work alongside the machine, which wasn't cringe in the slightest.
We are not your enemy. The more you fight for your box, the more you are fighting for a hierarchy of one box over the other.
I feel like that's a really poor way of trying to say, this is about equality. Your tampon is about equality. The part where you said we are not your enemy sounded more like something out of a movie, like Star Wars. And I would say, because you mentioned it being Twitter, you're already off on the wrong foot. Twitter is toxic. You will hardly be successful in getting anyone on your side. And the reason why when it comes to Twitter is because that place is quagmire. That place is a marshland of toxicity, disagreements, arguments, blocking sprees, block bots, many bots, ultra bots, Nigerian princes. There are other types as well who refuse to back down even when they're wrong. There is in fact a title for it because many of them have in fact been diagnosed. Not that I can say it on this channel.
We don't want to take womanhood from you. We don't want to tell you what to do. But I know as a non-binary person, the more you police your gender role, the more you are policing the idea that one gender role is the best.
That's a very strange thing to say. The idea that people are policing their gender role and by extension determining which one is simply better than the other. I like that. It's quite challenging to think of. The inner sexist in me wanted to make some really crap jokes, but I'm going to hold off on them because I know my lovely, lovely audience can put those in the comments instead. Now, the reason I mentioned that particular line right at the end there is because that's something quite common within your own content, within Jeffrey Marsh's content. This idea of tearing down those barriers of what it means to be X, Y, Z and all the other letters for genders. Instead, just embracing who you are, for who you are, exploring who you are, which I have no doubt will just lead to half the world's population turning to Slanesh and the other half turning to Nurgle, wishing for Decay to get this over and done with quicker.
It gives me a lot of emotion to talk about, because I am a feminist, and I will keep fighting for your rights, even if you hate me to my core, because women are not second-class citizens. If I could have anything, it would be that people just don't hate themselves as much. And I'll continue to do that.
Is it wrong that after hearing that particular last piece, I kind of want to see Jeffrey Marsh have a sit-down conversation with J.K. Rowling? Just because two feminists, two very different feminists? Or how about Jeffrey Marsh and, is it Christina Hoff Sommers? Yeah, how about that? Two completely different types of feminists. That would be very interesting for me, I think. I would though advise some caution when speaking on behalf of women, which is where some women take great issue. You've got to make sure your message doesn't appear condescending, belittling, patronizing. On social media, those words are used exclusively on people that speak for women. Just thought I'd let you know.